So, Petrux makes it win number 7 of the season, Alex Marquez goes from 18th to 2nd, and we report on a severed finger. Welcome back to Motorsport 101. After 4 attempts, we finally got that intro together. You'll look forward to the Christmas Reel blooper edition for that one, because we lost our minds on this one. Hi everybody, I'm Dre Harrison. Welcome to episode 271 of Motorsport 101. We're all grinning because we're all trying to hold back the laughter. It's been a long recording already, and we've not even started yet. On this episode, we'll be talking all about MotoGP's French Grand Prix, the rescheduled French Grand Prix at Le Mans, taking place in October. And the weather was exactly like France in October. It's completely unsurprising. Yes, just when you thought this MotoGP season couldn't get any stranger, the rain comes down. You'll love to see it. With me, to break down the carnage, the very gloaty, given his baseball team are up 2-0 on mine, Mr. RJ O'Connell. Hello, sir.
We need this energy. We need all of your energy. Let's get this energy.
Uncle Freddie Freeman is going on a one-way trip to hell the way this is going. The Braves are actually really good. I don't like this. I don't like this.
I don't know, man. I watched game 2. I was gripping that 9th inning. Y'all almost stole this one from us. And we would have deserved to lose if that got overturned.
Don't remind me. Thankfully, to balance out the bad juju, King has broken out his vintage 2013 Manchester United tablecloth kit. Good man, King. I appreciate the effort. Way to hold out there. How's it going, big man?
Oh, man. I thought, the most gruesome injury we might be talking about this weekend would be a compound ankle fracture. But, oh, man.
I still think that might
disappoint.
be. It's a toss-up.
Please get Wilson back, Prescott. I'm not even a huge Cowboys fan. That's bad. That was bad.
You know it's bad when Jason Garrett rushed over from the other sideline to check on Dak. That was brutal. Get well soon, Dak. That was awful to see in the NFL this past weekend. And with me, as always, is Mr. Cam Buckley. Hello, sir.
Hello, everyone. As someone whose baseball team was destroyed in the regular season, got rid of arguably their best player to give to Dre. Your team. Go Braves.
Oh, man.
Oh, and, I'm not done. The Yankees. Goodbye out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yankees fucking suck.
Yeah. Wait. I love that he's automatic. I love that he's automatically given King more editing work to do due to YouTube's complicated rules and profanities in the first 5 minutes of the video.
No, just bleep him out.
It's first 3 minutes, and Cam took a perfectly timed pause to get it past the 3-minute.
Can I just say,
way to go, Cam?
Look, I was just thinking about King while swearing at him.
We've all got our
soccer kits. Making it lighter on him.
We're all got our soccer kits on, yet Cam's the only one missing out. We should ship a Manchester City, check Snopes, Manchester Hunter kits for him to wear.
Oh, God. That's one way of fitting in, I suppose. Jesus Christ. So, we'll get into all of the news in Black. Well, obviously, we'll talk about a chaotic... I sound like a broken record calling a MotoGP race chaotic this season, but no, this one really did take the cake. An absolutely bonkers MotoGP race at Le Mans with Danilo Petrucci winning, Ducati back up the front, Alex Marquez surging through the field, Johan Zarco surging through the field, Bradley Smith representing the Aprilia and then bidding it early for a nice cameo appearance. And a great dogfight between Quartararo, Vinales, and Mir for the championship lead for P9. Yeah, it was that sort of week. All of that. We'll be getting into some notes as well. We'll be talking a little bit about some more silly season rumours because it looks like Avintia might be selling up. We'll be talking about Valentino Rossi, who might be in a bit of a crisis right now after his third straight crash in a MotoGP race. I think it's the first time he's ever had that happen to him in his MotoGP career, where he's crashed out of 3 races in a row. So we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. We'll be talking about Moto2, as I like to call it, Heartbreak City for BT Sports, as Jake Dixon tragically threw away a race win from the lead. But this other Brit rose from the ashes as Sam Lowe's took a W in the rain. And we talk a little bit about Moto3 as well, with yet more carnage and Celestino Vietti winning another Moto3 race. And if we get some time at the end, we'll be talking a little bit about World Superbikes as well, because Jonathan Rea did not close the deal on the championship just yet. We are getting a title decider finale at Estoril this weekend. Kind of. Let's just say Jonathan only needs 3 points to wrap up the title, so it's not really a decider, but hey, we had all this social media content, we can't let it go to waste, right? Title decider, everybody, and some big reshuffles over there as well, actually, because a certain Welshman will not be with the Ducati team next season, so more on that a little bit later on as well. But in the meantime, we'll get into the places you can find us real quick. We are on youtube.com/Motorsport101. If you're watching us on there right now, hi! Thanks for joining us. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell if you want notifications when we go live and all that. We're on Facebook.com/Motorsport101. We're on Twitter at Motorsport_101. If you're watching on YouTube, all our personal handles are on the screen right now and in the bio down below. If you're not, we're at Harrison101HD, at RJ O'Connell, at Ryan Eric King, and at CBuckley917. Again, we're on Instagram now as well. Instagram at Motorsport101pod. You can follow us on there for some tidbits, highlights, and notifications when the next episodes are live. That's always fun. On our website, motorsport101.com. And if you'd like to back us financially, you can on Patreon. Patreon.com/Motorsport101. $5 gets you all the early access audio editions of all our shows. $10 for the video version and access to our Discord servers, supporters club, where you can listen to these shows live as they're being recorded. Thanks to everyone for rolling up on this one, including our man Lewis. Thanks to see you, Lewis. Good to see you, man. In the Discord chat, as well as everyone else tuning in. Thank you guys, much appreciated, including Cam's dog, as you love to hear in the background. We love to hear it.
She's a very frustrated Aprilia fan.
Understandable.
I tried to talk her out of it, but she didn't want to listen.
Why can't Alicia Spargaro get in the podium?
Is not coming back.
So while Cam meditates and calms down the rest of his angry family, we'll get into the MotoGP French Grand Prix. MotoGP in France had their hometown hero Fabio Quartararo on pole after nearly taking Johan Zarco's all-time lap record. There was also some surprises slightly further down, as Danilo Petrucci had his first front row start of the year in third, and Cal Crutchlow coming back from arm pump surgery on the second row in fourth. The race started and the aforementioned Cal nearly took the whole shot into turn 1, but wisely backed out to let Jack Miller take the early lead. However, it was Valentino Rossi falling at turn 3 that caused the biggest shock. The first time in his MotoGP career he's ever crashed out of 3 consecutive races. In a race delayed due to a sudden sprinkling of rain on the grid, it was the Ducatis that took control early doors, with a lead group forming of Petrux, Miller, and main title contender Andrea Dovizioso. Remember him? While at the same time, pole sitter Fabio Quartararo was sinking into the midfield, perhaps the struggles of his first wet MotoGP race quickly being carved up by Pol Espargaro, Rins, Crutchlow, and Alex Marquez, who had already gained 10 places and was into the top 10. Meanwhile, Alex Rins had joined the leading group and had passed Jack Miller for third, using this Suzuki's supreme grip and confidence in the wet. With 10 to go, Dovi decided to up the ante and passed Petrux for the lead, while Rins and Miller continued to trade passes for third. All this while Alex Marquez was gunning them down at over a second a lap, dragging Pol Espargaro with him. There was a tremendous sequence we all watched on this very stream where all 4 lead runners went 4 wide into the turn 7 chicane, with Petrux retaking the lead, Rins second, and Miller taking the slip road to avoid contact and coming out third. Insane scenes. Chaos would soon ensue though, as Miller suffered yet another mechanical breakdown from third, pulling off the slip road. A lap later, Alex Rins would crash at turn 3, ending what was looking like a surefire podium at worst. And through all the chaos, Alex Marquez was now in a podium position with 2.5 laps to go past Andrea Dovizioso for a remarkable second place. The Italian admitted afterwards he'd pretty much cooked his rear tyre. Alex Marquez threw the house of Petrucci on the final lap, but the man they nicknamed Homer Simpson came home to take his second career MotoGP win, with Alex Marquez an incredible second from 18th on the grid. Paul would take an excellent third for KTM with Dovi 4th, and a final corner pass saw Johan Zarco take Miguel Oliveira for 5th place. And then a critical title fight down the road, Fabio Quartararo would hold on to 9th ahead of Maverick Vinales and Johan Mir, somehow extending his championship lead. Peak MotoGP in 2020.
And if you're wondering how this impacts the championship standings, Fabio Quartararo still leads with 115 points and a 10-point margin to second place Johan Mir. But in third, Andrea Dovizioso with a season-saving performance is still third on 97 points, trailing by 18 points out of lead. Maverick Vinales is fourth on 96 points. Taka Nakagami is fifth on 85 points. Franco Morbidelli remains 6th on 77. Jack Miller is 7th on 75. Paulo Espargaro is 8th on 73 points. Miguel Oliveira is 9th on the nice number. And Danilo Petrucci climbs his way into the top 10 with 64 points. A lot of stories from Ducati's surprising form, Yamaha struggling in the rain, Honda's resurgence, Valentino Rossi in crisis. But I don't know about y'all, but what was your biggest takeaway?
This sport is friggin' ridiculous. Can it please stop trying to give me a heart attack at age 28? It's not good for my health.
Every race.
Like, there's a new story. This is like, somebody asked me on Twitter during my lunch break yesterday, like, Dre, am I being spoiled here? Yes. The answer is yes, we are being spoiled. This is the most ridiculous MotoGP season ever seen. I mean, 7 different winners already, and I think that's baffling enough to me. Like, what was even more baffling was working out that Petrucci and Marquez became the 14th and 15th different rider to sit on a MotoGP podium this season. An entire points-paying position's worth of podium sitters over the course of the season, and there's only 22 full-time bikes in the class. 50 of them have sat on a podium at some point in 2020.
And now it includes a Honda! Cam! Honda's
Yes!
form!
We're back, baby! Unfortunately, when I said a couple episodes ago that my Honda Jet would be here before they would get a podium, well, they canceled it to funnel the funds into zero emissions projects.
Of course.
But yeah, Alex Marquez had the opening lap of the gods and just went from there.
I think he gained something like 8 places on the opening lap. I don't know how he did it. It was absolutely bonkers. Like, Cam, do you have any logical explanation for Honda suddenly finding a bucket load of pace? Because we didn't even mention in the race results. This wasn't a fluke. Alex Marquez was 2nd. Taka was 7th. Stefan Bradl was 8th. The test rider.
Stefan Bradl finished ahead of Quartararo and Vinales. Stefan Bradl said he was done.
But I mean,
and before,
I mean, all you have to do, like, it wasn't a fluke, but you do have to acknowledge the long list of non-finishers.
Yes.
Well, even factoring that in, where Alex was, I think he would have been behind Rins in the list of non-finishers. But
yeah.
Even before he went down, Cal was fighting in the lead group. I think it's more a case of the wet weather equalizing everyone rather than Honda actually finding a bucket load of pace. But that's okay.
Sometimes you need a rain equalizer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What a win this was for Danilo Petrucci. I know it's not
say.
anywhere soon enough to save his job at Ducati because that ship has sailed. But man, even still, that's got to be a great confidence boost for a guy who's generally well-liked. And when he is on his form, he's capable of winning the odd Grand Prix here or there.
It was funny to watch. Once again, after so many years, we had an Audi Sport 1, 2, 3 in the rain at Le Mans. Been
Very
a long time since we could say that.
And I know Paul could have used that podium. I know Davi especially. That saved his season. and Johann Zarco out of nowhere and Fit just hunting
The
down
hometown hero.
But I mean, talking about the Audi Sport 123.
Were you about to say auto union? I heard that.
The anorak just
Okay.
You could just tell that King's Motorsport in anorak just flew out of the back door right there. It's like, yep, there it is.
But yes, on that 123 note, like, how did Ducati at one point in the race have a podium lockout? It didn't hold, but Jesus.
Well, Ducati has always gone well in the rain for some reason. The grunt, the
It's
acceleration.
a very stable
of the
bike.
It's a very stable bike in those sort of conditions. It breeds confidence, and Petrucci, let's not forget, is one of the better wet weather runners in the field regardless. His breakout performance at Silverstone back in 2015 was where he finished second on a year-old Ducati and was challenging Valentino Rossi for the win. I wasn't entirely surprised that Petrucci won this one. He's always been a great wet runner, one of the best in the field at it. He's a bit of a madman. So he takes gambles and risks that a lot of guys wouldn't do in the wet. And as RJ alluded to, he is one of the sport's most well-liked dudes. I've never heard anybody say a bad word about Petrucci the person, ever. They love this dude. They call him Homer Simpson because they all find him funny. And if you want to find it on social media, you can. There was a great clip of after the race, he's doing his interview with Gavin Emmett, and he gets interrupted by I think it was mum video calling him, and it was the most wholesome, delightful sequence, as his mum is just in the middle of a video call, was like, "Mum, how did you watch the race?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm at home by myself." I'm just like, it's dumb, but it's wholesome, it's delightful. Yeah, I didn't think all three Ducatis would be challenging for, or all three of Ducatis would be challenging for a podium spot. Again, Jack Miller was, again, bitterly unlucky not to be in that fight. He should have been and was right up there with the leading group again. But
pour one out for Cal, as we mentioned. He was up there until he fell. Pour one out for Bradley Smith. Yeah, this was the Brexit race, and Valentino Rossi fell again. Do you think he's gonna be relieved that he's going to the better Yamaha package next year?
I'm not so sure about that. We're watching a first. This has never happened before, where Rossi's binned it in 3 races in a row.
It's strange. Like, somebody said to me, somebody asked me on Twitter yesterday, is Valentino Rossi washed? And I said, well, if it was the Great British Bake Off, I'd say Paul Hollywood would say he's been underbaked. Shall we say? It was a bit. I don't know how I feel about it, because a lot of these are just flash incidents where you can't like Misano was of his own volition. Catalunya was a silly. The Catalunya one stands out to me more than this one, because it was wet at Le Mans. It was a first corner. It could have happened to anybody. Yeah. I wouldn't have. I didn't want to read too much into that one. It just makes the more convenient stat more well rounded. The one at Catalunya was the one that stood out to me most.
That's the weird thing. Like, he's had kind of a return and a flash of pace, but now he's having odd falls.
Even Rossi himself has admitted, it is a flash of pace. Back at Misano, he said, he doesn't have the pace to win races anymore. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, and then you said, and then he had 3 races where he legitimately was fighting for the podium against our championship contenders.
You've always got to be a little bit careful when talking about Valentino Rossi and what he says to the media, because he's very, very coy with them, and he talks a lot he's like the Riddler. He just talks in riddles a lot of the time. But King was right where he said that Rossi straight up admitted after Misano race 1 that he hasn't got the pace to run it, and that race where Frankie Morbidelli won, Rossi stayed with him for about 8-9 laps and then just faded in the second half of the race altogether. Maybe that's just the nature of him being 41 years old. Maybe he hasn't quite got the stamina to stay with some of the younger riders over a full race distance. Like I said, Catalunya was the one that stood out to me more than any other. That was a race he was gunning for Quartararo. He was in range, less than a second behind, and he had a relatively risk-averse crash. It was a strange place to crash. You don't normally crash at turns 1 and 2.
There.
Yeah, and it almost seemed like just a loss of concentration that caused the crash more than anything else. So I wouldn't want to read too much into Le Mans specifically, but boy, oh boy.
And as our resident insider points out, at least he's fast this year. Last year, he was just a little slow. So he's still got the speed. It's just a matter of putting it all together for full race distance.
Which is weird to say about a unprecedented 41 entering his age 42 season, Valentino Rossi, who's done literally 70% of his life in Grand Prix motorcycle racing.
But I wouldn't say that's weird. This is something that you would expect, because in other sports, say professional basketball, when you have a veteran like that, they're still useful. You just can't run them for as many minutes as they used to be able to play. The issue is that in motorcycle racing, it doesn't matter how old you are, you still have to ride the entire race distance.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Maybe he should start dropping $2 million a year on his body like LeBron does.
I think
are you bitter down there, Buckley? Is that it? Is that
I'm
the
not
Bostonian you creep?
No, I'm not bitter, because I'm fine with it, because, well, it's just one more thing to spite Skip Bayless with.
That's the most important thing we can all agree on. Trey, I heard there is news within the paddock for silly season.
Yeah.
Oh, is it silly?
It gets sillier because we're in October and yet MotoGP still finds more strange ways to mess with us. Just when you thought Avintia was putting together a real nice lineup for 2021, it's looking like Avintia might be selling its 2 grid spots altogether. It's a messy one. Apparently, the COVID pandemic has hit them harder than a lot of the other teams in the paddock. They didn't have a lot of money in the first place. They were always towards the bottom in terms of team budgets and whatnot. And, of course, COVID has hit them particularly hard. It's looking like let's just say their grid spots might be used maybe as a bargaining tool by a certain Afro-wearing 41-year-old rider to maybe get his half-brother into the top flight. Just throwing it out there that apparently his camp really want Luca Marini in MotoGP next year. Makes sense, he's the Moto2 championship leader. Can't imagine the marketing opportunity there, folks. No one ever mentions the family ties, ever. It's looking like they want Luca Marini in MotoGP next year, and they might buy Rabat out of his current contract, because Rabat is on the other seat. It's looking like Enea Bastianini will get the other one. But it's looking like Rabat, who, by the way, still has a year left on his contract. Valentino might get the boys from the academy round and corner Tito Rabat in the garage and say, how much can we pay? And King, why don't you use the phrase you used to sum it up in the pre-show, King? Because I thought it was funnier coming from you.
Ooh, what was the phrase in the pre-show? It kind of slipped my mind.
We are well prepared.
King. See, I was prepared for this eventuality that King would say was it. So I remembered exactly what he said. He said, quote, how much can we pay Tito Rabat to fuck off? So we could get,
It's the good old Kimi Räikkönen in 09.
Tito Rabat's a good guy. We don't have
great guy.
He's been riding hurt for the better part of a year. Probably should have gone to World Superbikes when he had the chance. And you still can.
Yeah, and it seems like a logical step if they want Marine to move up to the top class right now, because starting a MotoGP team or any motorsport team from scratch is very hard, and you don't want to do that with a rookie rider, because that just makes things even more difficult.
Yeah, you want to have resources in place, and that's a smart idea. And if Aventia are looking to sell their way out of the premier class of motorcycle racing, Sky VR46 is not a bad entity to take that over. And I'll tell you that Luca Marini and Enea Bastianini are not two bad riders to jump into the grid in place of Johan Zarco / Steve Rabat.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Tito has been riding her ever since that horror leg break he had at Silverstone last season in the race that was eventually labelled as, quote, cancelled. If you remember our Bike Live days on that last year. Rabat's been riding her for a while. It's basically the next step in what I call the VR46 master plan. The Moto3 team is also being made redundant next year. It looks like Celestino Vietti, who we'll talk about a little bit more later on in the show, will be moving up to Moto2 next year alongside Marco Bezzecchi. And then the Moto3 team will just be made redundant altogether, so they can focus their resources more towards their eventual goal of having a team in the top flight, which is looking like maybe not next year, maybe the year after 2022 we might see that. So again, keep your eyes peeled for more details and news on that. But it's looking a lot like it's going to be Bastianini and maybe Luca Marini on the other Avintia next year if they can find some settlement for Tito Rabat, which would be a real shame because, like I said, we like Tito. He's a great guy, great rider, great story. One of the real, just disgustingly likable dudes in the paddock, and that would be a real shame if he lost his seat that way. But hey, business be business on that one.
Yeah. Seen it too many times in F1. MotoGP is a lot the same way.
Indeed, it's a tough break. Also, I'm looking at the board one more time, but Petrux, the way the season's played out, Petrux is now in the top 10 of the championship after basically being nowhere all year. This
it was just pointed out to me that Marc Marquez is only now mathematically eliminated from championship contention by missing the next round.
Yeah. HRC had a press release a couple of days ago. They had no word of Marc Marquez. Look, guys, it's not happening this year. Stop trying to talk me into this. It's not happening. It's really not happening. We got Aragon this coming weekend, and Marquez will not be taking part in that one. So, mathematically, he is officially out of title contention in October because, this season's been weird. Very, very weird. And, to say the least, just a quick... I also love that Taka Nakagami is in there in 5th, 30 points off the top, despite having been one of the few riders to have not been on a MotoGP podium this year, but has finished every race in the top 10.
Mr. Consistency. Consistency-kun.
Oh, dear. If you have not seen this race, go out of your way to see it. It is an absolutely chaotic race. Well worth a watch. The 4 wide into the backside of Le Mans is worth the price of admission alone. Oh dear, that was incredible racing. You'll watch it and you'll go, how the hell did no one fall off here? To say the least. It is a 10 out of 10 race. Go out of your way to see it. The highlights, there's a great highlight package of it on the BT Sports YouTube channel, as well as MotoGP's official YouTube page. You can check it out there as well. I'm plugging everybody of the day because I'm in a good mood. What can I say? It is a good time for all involved. Right, should we talk Moto 2 quickly?
I love it. Let's get into it. Joe Roberts deserved better.
Hashtag justice for Joe.
God, that...
I'm sorry. Has the American contingent of the podcast got something to say here?
Hashtag we're with Joe.
Let's just say we were watching this on Video Pass, and you may or may not have seen one Joe Roberts creeping into the back of your shop behind a safety car. It was a hot mess, to say the least. He had to start the race from the back of the grid because he wasn't able to leave his grid spot normally. There was some sort of fuming error or technical fault on the American racing team bike. So he had to start from the back of the grid instead. He was going around on the formation lap, and you could just see him creeping into the back of the shot as the race starts. And it's just, oh god, it was a phenomenal botch. That if you have a video pass, support the product and all that, you may be able to catch it. Just throwing that out there, because for some reason no one else seemed to mention it. Meanwhile, if you were watching the BT Sport coverage, deep British conflict. Deep British conflict. I'll get into it now, but there was heartbreak in the air in a cloudy and dark Moto2 race as BT Sport were about to lose their minds. Yes, there really was a British 1-2 on the cards, as Jake Dixon had a coming-of-age performance. It was Sam Lowes that took the early lead, and Dixon was the only man who could stay with him, especially after his teammate, the newly re-signed Xavi Vierge, crashed from the lead group. Dixon took the lead and was able to push it out to nearly 3 seconds after Lowes ran off at the infamous Garage Ver double right-hander, but clawed it back to within 1 after some fast laps. But with 7 to go, and with Dixon having the lead under control, he bins it from the lead at the final corner with just 4 laps left. There's actually, and this is on social media, there is actually a heartbreaking clip of Dixon in the SRT garage after the race, sobbing in tears with his crew around him, just saying, "I'm so sorry," having crashed what would have probably been his first Grand Prix victory. Just you gotta have a heart of stone not to be at least a little bit emotional at that one. It was a sad one. Sam Lowes would go on to win comfortably, with Remy Gardner second and Marco Bezzecchi reigniting his title challenge with a podium in third, with main title contenders Enea Bastianini and Luca Marini 11th and 17th respectively. Quick run in order of the result real quick. Sam Lowes winning from Gardner and Bez, Augusto Fernandez in 4th, the gatekeeper Tom Luthi in 5th, Joe Roberts, who came back from, shall we say, behind the back of the grid, to eventually finish in 6th for the American racing team there. Great result for the American. Everyone's celebrating in the background there. Celebrate, Americans, you know you want to. Yes, there you go.
Gotta have something else to celebrate. We also have news surrounding that, too.
More on that in a moment. Fabio Di Gianantonio in 7th. He is on the way. He's on the way as well. I think he's going to one of the Calyx teams. I can't remember which one. I think it's Grassini. It is Grassini. Yeah, my memory just served me there. He's in 7th there, ahead of Baldassari, Somercat Tantra, Marcel Schrotter, Enea Bastini attention in 11th, Hector Garzo 12th, Marcos Ramirez 13th, Manzi 14th, and Afis Siren round off the points in 15th. Aforementioned Luca Marini in 17th, and if you have not seen it already, go out of your way to check out, because on Saturday, Marini literally high-slided himself to the moon at the top of the hill after the
Jesus, yeah, that was not a good one. No.
Somehow he turned out okay. Do not ask me how. It defied the laws of physics. He came back from the moon, was okay, and was able to race on Sunday. Somehow.
Which is fair. And he still has the championship lead. 150 points to Enea Bastianini's 135, Marco Bezzecchi's 3rd on 130, and Sam Lowes moves up into 4th on 128 points.
Honestly, nobody else is worth mentioning, because Jorge Martin's 5th, but he's now on 79 points because he binned it during that race. It really is a 4-way title fight now for Moto2 between Marini, Bastianini, Bezzecchi, and the Brit Sam Lowes. It's Italy versus England, and it's 3 against 1 for the Italians. Oh boy, that's going to be fun.
What does Petronas do?
Well, Italy has to take some kind of win besides Monza this year.
Before we get to the other story about American riders in Moto2, Dre, what's going on at SRT?
Well, we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago on the show that Xavi Vierge signed a 2-year extension, and it was actually friend of the show, Kevin Walsh, to put out a great point on Twitter that I wanted to focus on in the set list, because it's almost like Petronas don't realise how good they are in Moto2 now, because it's like, have they sold themselves short now by selling low on Xavi Vierge and tying him up, when now Dixon seems to be getting better and better by the weekend? Him being in the top 10 is no longer a surprise. He should have won this race, by all accounts. And everyone and their mother has alluded to the fact that John McPhee was coming up at the end of this Moto3 season no matter what. And now I'm sitting here thinking, have they now put themselves in a corner where they've now got to choose between McPhee and Dixon? Because that's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one.
Because McPhee is now probably going to end up being collateral damage. Because if you're SRT, you can't drop Dixon now, surely.
No. He's in the ascendancy. It would be foolish to do so.
And this is props to Dixon. We don't normally praise the Brits on this show. We're quite cynical towards them, funnily enough, on this show. But Dixon has massively improved this year. One of the most improved dudes on two wheels, period. And now there's now a real genuine domestic headache between him and John McPhee, who still has an outside chance of winning the Moto3 championship this year. It's not looking great for him, and we'll get into the reasons why in a minute, but that was my way of thinking. Surely, you can't drop Dixon now, and is your team a little bit too good now to tie someone like Vierge up, who has never really been a top contender in Moto2? I find it very strange what their situation is like as a team, as well. I'm not. It's a messy one. Also, I wanted to make mention as well, and this is good news for the Americans on the show, because it looks like Joe Roberts is going to a pretty cool team next year. It's looking like he's heading to Italtrans next year to take Bastianini's seat.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's coming off a tremendous run in Moto America, isn't he?
Yeah, because the guy that's expected to replace him is the now 5-time Moto America champion, Cameron Beaubier, with 13 victories already this season. He's just wrapped up the title with the Brickyard, and it's looking like the reports are that he's gonna be moving on to Moto2.
Big spot for him, and
finally got some American international motorcycle racing ladder going.
Well, let's not forget the last guy to dominate Moto America. Or what was then AMA Superbike and come to the World Championship.
Tell us more, King. Go on.
Ben Spies,
yeah.
Ben Spies was just more unlucky than anything.
Yeah.
Was he not up against Prime Jorge Lorenzo?
Pretty much. It was a death sentence.
There's not much you're doing about that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like Yamaha had too much faith in Ben Spies rather than normally being not enough, which is normally how this goes. Also, I love that Lewis in that chat just goes, quote, "Anyone remember Josh Heron?" We don't speak of him in these parts. Oh dear, but good. That's a good move for Joe Roberts, who again is showing great potential. He absolutely would have won that Moto2 race this weekend if he had actually started from his proper grid position. Damn you, American racing. Not fun.
We're not allowed to have anything good this year.
Yeah.
We're banned.
We're banned from good.
Good is optional here, folks. Good is optional. Oh boy, 22 points covering the top 4 in the Moto2 Championship. We actually have a proper Moto2 Championship fight on our hands here. And it's looking juicy in there. It's going to be great.
It's not as juicy as the conditions at the Charlotte Roval this past weekend, but that's still pretty juicy.
More on that in another episode of Motorsport 101.
I don't normally watch NASCAR. I saw the highlights and weeped. It was
and no matter how many tears you cried, it still wasn't as much water on the ground as there was at the Roval.
Get the hose
you know where
out,
there
gentlemen.
wasn't water? You know where there wasn't water, surprisingly? The Moto3 race. Surprisingly sunny. Gotta love that French weather.
Yeah, the
France
climate
in October.
Yeah, the climate changed rapidly on this one. We had a completely bone dry Moto3 race to start the morning. So if you've watched the MotoGP race and watched the Moto2 race and then somehow went backwards, you'd be like, how did the weather get so good all of a sudden? It was very strange. But yeah, look, it was a Moto3 race at Le Mans. They're always chaotic. This was no exception. As Lewis pointed out, we had rain in the FP1 session in Moto3, and there was 17 crashes. 17! Yeah, so, we made up for it in the race. Look, the two big incidents that had happened during this race was John McPhee being collected by Jeremy Alcoba, who had a big wobble and then crash at turn 8, and then collected McPhee in the aftermath. He had nowhere to go, and McPhee was just like, what's going on here? It was like his best Nicky Hayden and Estoril 06 impression. I think he wanted to give him a Glasgow kiss after that one, personally. But, McPhee absolutely livid. Nothing he could have done about that one. That was a nasty incident. We also didn't get a chance to mention that both Husqvarnas, again, just showing how chaotic Moto3 can be. Like, Romano Formati goes from race winner 1 week to being taken out by his own teammate a week later. You love to see it. You really don't love to see it. It was a nasty one at the final corner.
Everybody was okay at least, but damn, these were some scary ones.
Indeed. Honestly, I have to say, I'm actually impressed at how well both Husqvarnas took a teammate collision. They were literally hugging it out afterwards, like, yeah, okay, bring it in. Everything is fine. Honestly, it was a very strange scenario, but everybody else ended up being okay. By the end, it was basically a four-way ding-dong between Darren Binder, Celestino Vietti, Tony Arbolino, Jaume Masia, and Albert Arenas, all in that leading group for the win. Vietti got to the front, and Vietti ended up taking his second win of the season ahead of Arbolino, who's had back-to-back podiums now. Albert Arenas, taking control of the championship again, he finished in third, and the pole sitter Jaume Masia in fourth. And because Ayagura was down in ninth, it means that Arenas retakes the championship lead. So he now has a 6-point lead with 135 to Ayagura's 129. Vietti now on 119 in third. Arbolino's hanging in there in fourth on 115, and John McPhee missing out on some big points for the second race in a row. He's now on 98, a full 37 points off the top. Still doable for McPhee, but it's gonna be a long way back from here.
Giving himself a lot of extra work.
Yeah, indeed. This one wasn't really his fault, unfortunately, but it's just one of those Moto3 incidents, really. Again, go out of your way to see it. Leading group of 8 for the win. It's a Moto3 race at Le Mans. What more
That's
do I
low
need
for
to tell
Moto3.
You? Yeah, for Moto3.
Usually there's 18 instead of 8.
I was about to say, when do we not go out of our way to recommend watching a Moto3 race?
Just watch it. Buy a video pass. They're half price right now. There's only half the season left. Go out of your way to see it.
Watch it!
Watch it.
Watch it, man. Yeah, 20 points covering the top 4 in that title fight as well. All the championships are up for grabs. There's 19 points covering the top 4 in MotoGP. There's 22 covering the top 4 in Moto2, and there's 20 covering the top 4 in Moto3. All within a race of each other. It is absolute chaos. No championship seems nailed on at the moment. It's fantastic.
All this could change so quickly by the time we get to Aragon for a doubleheader. Aragon and Teruel on the 18th and the 25th.
Oh, yeah. If it's anything like the World Superbike rounds we got, then it's going to be absolutely insane. Yes, parts 2 and 3 of another MotoGP triple header, as the calendar heads to Aragon for the Aragon and Teruel doubleheader there, 18th and 25th of October. Oh, I miss Marc Marquez. It would have been so fun to get him back at Aragon, but sadly not. But who cares? The actor's been bloody brilliant all year long, so...
Not gonna lie, I am salivating at the prospect of, Mark potentially coming back to try and help Taka Nakagami's title push. Nothing would be more 2020. Hey, speaking of World Superbikes, this title fight's not quite over yet.
Somehow, Jonathan Ray has not quite sealed the deal yet.
Fair play to old Scotty Boy Reddin. He did what he needed to do in race 2 and took a great victory to prolong the title fight to the season finale at Estoril this coming up weekend. Look, it's practically over. Jonathan Rea only needs 3 points out of a possible 62 to take his. I can't believe
Jonathan Rea could have his worst weekend in years and wrap it up pretty comfortably.
Pretty comfortably. He only needs 3 points to and across the whole weekend to seal. I can't believe I'm saying this, a 6th consecutive World Superbike Championship. And if he wins any one of the 3, it would also be his 100th World Superbike career victory. Because all of a sudden, we're now counting the Super Pole wins now on top of that, because we always thought it was a dumb idea that they weren't counting, and now they do. So Jonathan Rea now has 99 career victories.
I knew they were going to do this. I knew they were going to do this from day one.
King, you did call it.
Yes,
he did. He absolutely did call it. He's absolutely on the nose. King is mad as hell online. The historian is like, why do these wins not count as wins? Like, for God's sake. Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, and as Lewis alludes to in our chat, even if Jonathan Rea had, crashes in all 3, Redding would probably have to win all 3 races to realistically take the title. And this field's too close for that in World Superbikes right now for me to say that Redding would take a triple victory in any sort of sense. As mentioned, Rea won race 1 and the Super Pole race as well before Redding took race 2 on that one. But there has been some moves announced. We actually got the news today, this afternoon, that there is yet another change in the factory Ducati team. Scott Redding stays. Chaz Davis does not. Chaz is gone. He's been let go. He's been future endeavoured, and taking his place is the newest hot young Italian on the scene. Michael Ruben Rinaldi will take his seat in the factory team next year.
That win bumped his stock a little bit, huh?
Oh,
Just a touch.
Yes, it did.
Oh, man. I don't know how I feel about this one. I still feel in my gut like it's a year early, but I can understand why they'd want a really fast, young Italian to basically be the second rider alongside Scott Redding, who is going to be their main gunner for the championship. I get it, but Chaz has always been a solid pair of hands. I'm kind of conflicted on this one, personally. Don't know how you guys feel about it, but I don't know.
I think some of it has to do with Redding came in here. Chaz had already had a year on the V4. Scott walks in and he's been beating him pretty consistently this year. Chaz has had his moments, including the fabled Chaz, Raz, and Baz early this season.
I love that.
I think
he survived the onslaught of Alvaro Bautista, but didn't survive the onslaught of Scott Redding, which is, bad luck.
Yeah, because last year you could kind of make the excuse that he's trying to get used to what is an all-new bike, as both of them were. I think they see now kind of where Chaz's ceiling is relative to Redding, and they're trying to go for someone who might have a higher ceiling than him.
It's fair, and I think I think Rinaldi's best is about where Chaz is right now. Outside of Chaz has occasional wins in him, but it's pretty clear that a lot has to happen for Chaz Davis to win a race in World Superbikes now. It doesn't know that Jonathan Rea is still Jonathan Rea, of course, but Redding is clearly the lead rider in that setup now, and kind of has to be going forward. He's the closest anyone's come to beating Rea since Chaz was in his prime a couple of years ago. So I get it. It makes total sense. That's not the only moves come in there. Andrea Locatelli will be going to Pata Yamaha after his near-perfect World Supersport season.
I got another blemish from Lucas Mahias of the Mahias Rule of Fame, but no, Locatelli's been awesome this year. If you're going to bring some guy from up in the developmental ladder to fill that seat, oh, buddy. Oh, man. Ooh, Locatelli on a Yamaha.
That could be fun. That could be very fun to watch indeed. He's always been a solid rider in most of the classes he's taken part in. Of course, wiped the floor with the field in World Supersport this year. Also, Mahias is moving up. He'll be with the Kawasaki Pacetti team next year in World Superbikes and taking his old seat. Chan Onsu will be coming up into World Supersport straight away next year. So that's going to be a big test for the youngster. Still only, I think, 16 years old, and he's going to be in World Supersport next year. Like, whew. That is a big test for Keenan's number 2 apprentice in the Turkish rider setup. That's going to be spicy indeed as well. And RJ, tell us more about Kota. The other Kota, not the racetrack.
No, Kota Nozane, who is undefeated in this year's Japanese Superbike 1000 Championship, is coming to the Yamaha Junior team to partner Garrett Gerloff next season. So Gerloff stays. Nozane becomes the second most recent call-up from the JSB 1000 ranks. Already has a MotoGP cameo under his belt. To be fair, this is his first season where he's really been dominant. Although, to be fair, that's a JSB 1000 had been Nagashima land for about a half decade plus.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So all this is looking very, very
More
interesting.
news as well. Moto E race winner Eric Granado will also be making his World Superbike debut with the Mi Honda team.
Yeah, alongside the other guy from JSB 1000, Takumi Takahashi. I'm just glad.
It's a solid move.
Yeah,
First time I think they've run the second bike since the open rounds of the season.
Right.
Oh! Before we get out of here, can I give a shout out to our mans? Can we give a shout out to our mans from our Bike Live days? Yes, because Moto E had its season finale doubleheader at Le Mans this past weekend, and after winning in race 1, Spanish Elvis Jordi Torres wins the Moto E World Cup. I love it. I love this house.
Gracias muy todo.
Yes. It's a.
Do they eat peanut butter and banana sandwiches in Spain?
I don't know.
I think that's just a weird take on paella.
We stand him from our Bike Live days. We love Jordi Torres. He's one of the most incredible entertainers and all-round funny people in bike racing. So Jordi Torres wins the Moto E World Cup. Delighted for him. Way to go, Jordi. We love you, man. Congratulations, sir. He ended up winning the Moto E World Cup this past weekend. Beat in the end by 17 points over Matteo Ferrari and Dominique Agata, who just lost out on second on countback. We like Domi Agata as well. That's a bit of a shame. But Jordi Torres, yes! Spanish Elvis, so we love to see it. You had to get that one in as well. But that'll just about do it. As mentioned, big weekend of bikes all across the board. As mentioned, MotoGP at Aragon this weekend, the first of 2 races there. World Superbikes has their season finale at Estoril this weekend, and I believe BSB has its title decider as well, I think at Brands Hatch this weekend. So all 3 major biking championships all have their season finale, at least 2 of them have their season finales this weekend. MotoGP, again, another critical title round coming up in Aragon. So bikes, lots of bikes this weekend. Check it all out. British Eurosport if you want to see the World Superbike, as I call it, Jonathan Ray's likely coronation for his sixth consecutive championship, and the BSB title decider as well over there, and of course BD Sport for MotoGP, and of course NBC for in the United States. All of that, but let's wrap it up and get out of here. Places you can find us one last time on youtube.com/Motorsport 101. Subscribe if you're watching us on there. If not, down below, check us all out on all that. Facebook.com/Motorsport 101. We're on Twitter at Motorsport_101. Again, personal handles on the screen, in the bio. If not, at Harrison101HD, at RJ O'Connell, at Ryan Eric King, and at Cam Buckley. See Buckley917 to be precise. Our website, motorsport101.com. Our Instagram page at motorsport101pod. Check us out on there. And of course, if you'd like to back us financially, you can on Patreon. Patreon.com/motorsport101. $5 gets you early access to all of our audio shows. $10 for the video versions and access to the supporters club of our Discord server where you can listen to these episodes live as they're being recorded. Thanks to everyone that's checked in and tuned in. We'll be back later this week to talk about Formula One, the Eiffel Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton making history and becoming the second member of the class of 91, and chaos in NASCAR. All of that, and some big IndyCar City season talk as well, because, oh my god, there's a whole lot of mess to untangle in that one. Oh boy. We'll be back for that one later in the week, but until then, I've been Dre Harrison, they've been RJ O'Connell, Ryan Tablecloth King, and Cam Buckley. And until next time, sayonara.
Later, y'all!
Why?
So, King,
I had something to say, and that comment completely threw me off. Thanks, Dre.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. So, King, how disappointed are you that the KDF Wagon IDR isn't running at Goodwood?
Oh my god.
Well, since we're throwing it back.
King, come back. Come back. You know you don't want to walk off. Oh, not again.
Yo, that new DKW R8, though, that do be looking nice.
RJ, were it not going to compromise the show, I would kick you right now.
Wouldn't be the first.
You're gonna have to pry it from me from my cold dead hands that are also gripping the keys of my 1978 Oakland Motors Trans Am.
Did we hit stop?
No, we didn't. I kept it running. It's been that sort of show.